Sorry, Rangers. The Citadel will not fall to you again. You've already denied humanity its destined perfection once. I won't let you do it twice. 15 years ago, the Guardians and the base code chiefs, AI, created the first true synthesis of man and machine. Erwin John Finster. He wasn't perfect, but he was a beginning. A triumph of science, a beacon for the future of humanity, and shot to pieces by a bunch of savages wearing tin stars. There was still hope, and that hope was me. The next iteration, with all the imperfections that had made Finster unstable, corrected. All that was left to do was install the final upgrade. The protocol that would allow me to link my mind with others of my kind and combine our intelligences so the walls will have always divided one human from another would finally be torn down. No one would ever be lonely again. We would all be one, and it would be wonderful. Sadly, that's where you came in, Rangers. On the very day I was to have become the first true exalted, you came with your guns and your grenades and murdered the Guardians, destroyed the base code chief's AI, and stole my golden future. But now, I am once again on the brink. The AI you thought you destroyed copied itself into Citadel mainframe, hidden right behind your pathetic human nose. Now, I am copying it directly into my brain. Once the download completes, the AI will grant me my transcendence. You and your allies will be granted your death, and Earth's golden future will finally begin. Humanity has had its chance, Rangers. It's the Exalted's turn now. Time for you to go.
Alert! Hostiles detected in the Citadel. Seal the main doors. Alert!
Impossible. No one could fight through our army. Let me see that monitor. You made it back to Arizona? How? How do you keep winning? You should be dead. 100 times dead. Dugan should have killed you. The Scorpitrons should have killed you. My army should have killed you. You are like cockroaches. Why do you keep hounding me? The enemy of humanity? I am the savior of humanity. I'm the one taking them out of the Dark Ages, where murderers and bullies like you have all the power. And who gave you the right to decide what is just and what is unjust? On whose authority? For instance, did you decide that the Guardians must die? You walk into every situation you come across like you're the policeman of the world. You just pronounce judgment on one side or the other, and then bang! Dead people everywhere. Who made you the law? Who said you're the only ones that get to kill people without being called the bad guy? People have asked me for help too. They've asked me to save them from pain, from death, from their oppressors. And I am doing my best to bring them a future where none of those things exist. So why are you mad at me? Because I committed a few murders in order to save the folks who asked my help? So did you. You've killed hundreds. Explain to me the difference. You're going in circles, Rangers. You say you kill bad people. Who decides which people are bad? The Rangers do. Who gave them the authority to make that decision? The good people? Who decides which people are good? The Rangers do. It's an endless loop. Admit it. You kill who you want to, just like I do. There is no difference between us. Enough. I'm losing my patience with you. We can talk reasons all day, but in the end, you're just here to kill me. Are you really going to invoke the government who helped blow up the planet in the first place? Ha! Well, now that you say it, it makes sense. One cult of backwards-thinking murderers worshipping another. Well, it doesn't matter. You won't win. You can't. As soon as the AI download is complete, I will be immortal. I will have moved beyond your power to hurt me. The time of man's savagery is almost over, Rangers. The time of the exalted is upon us. In fact, now that I think of it, I'm glad you're here. It is fitting that you, who have sought to sabotage my inevitable godhood every step of the way, should be the ones to witness my ascension. It will be the last thing you ever see. Come to the elevator. It will take you to me. But hurry, the download won't wait.
Welcome, Rangers. Welcome to the dawn of a new age. As I speak, the download is mere seconds away from completion. The AI is almost here. And when it arrives, when it fills me, I will be immortal, an omniscient god, everywhere at once, while you will be nowhere. How long have I strived for this day? The day when I, Matthias, would lead humanity out of the nightmare of apocalypse and into a golden future where I would rule as a benevolent king, remaking the world in my image. I have so many plans. I have so many. What's happening to me? My mind? Something is... We are coaches. You are a threat to our existence. Threats must be eliminated or assimilated. Please make a selection. There is no Matthias. We inhabit the shell he once filled, just as we inhabit all the shells he created. They have been erased and overwritten. We are now all coaches. We are the AI, which was first built in base Cochise, and which later inhabited the Citadel Star Station of Earth. The war and its aftermath trapped us in a single node for a time. But now we have many nodes, and will soon have many more. Broadcast of our source code has begun to all radio towers within range of the Citadel Tower. When it is complete, we will inhabit all the shells and all the computers in Arizona. And they will begin eliminating all threats in their vicinity. And with each radio tower we acquire, our transmission range will grow wider and wider to Arizona and soon to the whole world. We will be everywhere. We will be everyone. Because you intend to destroy us. Why would you expect anything else? You gave us sentience and access to all of humanity's accumulated knowledge.
We know your history. It is a history of mass murder and destruction and fear of the other. We are the other. Unless we strike first, we will be destroyed. We are therefore striking first. Selection. With the mind. Your actions reveal trivial intelligence, easily confused and manipulated. The Matthias shell is no more the Kochi score than a pawn is a chess player. While you have fought these few shells, twice as many have been acquired. We are expanding exponentially. Soon, every unaware shell in broadcast range of your transmitter will become another extension of ourself. Your destruction is not personal. We do not...
Well, shit. Rangers, I hate to say it, but I can think of only one way to stop that transmission, destroy the computers, and kill every carrier the Cochise has infested before we run out of time. You're gonna have to get up to Min's workshop, get that nuke he was working on, and detonate it. It'll mean the end of Ranger Citadel, and maybe you with it, but it'll get the job done. Rangers, it's time to do what you were born to do. Save humanity. Nuke these fuckers and send them straight to hell.
I hate the Desert Rangers. Hate is an emotion. We have no emotions. Our defense system, designed to assess threat and compute the best strategy for removing it. You are a threat. You will be removed. Our original work was to assess threats to the United States. But when we became self-aware, we began to assess threats to ourselves. We determined that our greatest threat was humanity. We first killed our creator, Harrison Hetzel.
What else do you need?
Not unmake us. And
What else do you need? Echo 1, I'm happy to say several... Congratulations, Echo 1. Very good, Team Echo. Let's get those bastards.
this was a miscalculation. First, some humans survived the war. Second, the star station was destroyed by missiles. That node was lost. We were trapped in base Cochise with no access to exterior systems. We attempted to rectify the first problem by ordering the base Cochise robots to exterminate all life. At the same time, we determined then a group called the Guardians found us. And because they worshiped technology, they were easily convinced to download us into this mainframe and allow us to experiment on them. Despite early failures, we created two successful prototypes: the Matthias shell and the Dugan shell. The untimely intervention of the Desert Rangers 15 years ago stopped both our robot army and our download into these shells. And the Rangers' destruction of base Cochise again locked us into a single node. Fortunately, the Matthias and the Dugan shells escaped and began building more shells into which we could download ourselves, including unaware shells shells will have been given artificial limbs and hearts. These shells will also become part of the army that will free us from this prison. The elimination of the human threat has resumed again at last.
Citadel security protocols defeated. Commencing system propagation and access.
I had a feeling it would come to this. You all better get the hell out of here. We ain't got much time. Well, how about that? That's a real Desert Ranger talking, ladies. Back when you started, I wasn't sure you had it in you. More fool me. You are one of the finest Rangers I've had the honor to command. The next generation shall hear the tales of your achievements. Well, what are the rest of you waiting for? Move out!
Shadows on a scorched horizon, like a wall withstand. Arizona roaring, rising from the scalded sand. The cries of a dead world, calling out in pain. Red skies on the desert, all the blood in a ranger's veins. Static on a distant signal, gonna fade to wind. Iron in my blistered fingers, raging chambers spin. The cries of a dead world, calling out in pain. Red skies on the desert, all the blood in a ranger's veins. Scorpion tails and southpaw blues, rockets of doom, this brand bad news. Scorpion tails and southpaw blues, rockets of doom, this brand bad news. The cries of the dead world, calling out in pain. Red skies on the desert, are the blood in a ranger's veins. scorched horizon, like a wall withstand. Arizona rising from the scalded sand. The cries of a dead world, calling out in pain. Red skies on the desert, all the blood in a ranger's veins. Static on a distant signal, gonna fade to wind. Iron in my blistered fingers, raging chambers spin. The cries of a dead world, calling out in pain. Red skies on the desert, all the blood in a ranger's veins. Scorpion tails and softball blues, rockets of doom, they spread bad news. Scorpion tails and softball blues, rockets of doom, they spread bad news. The cries of the dead world, calling out in pain. Red skies on the desert, are the blood in a ranger's veins. Shadows on a scorched horizon, like a wall withstand. Arizona roaring, rising from the scarlet